Hello, Andrea St. Amand here. Today we're going to talk about our need to control. So the other day in the last video, we talked about how a friend of mine gave me something very wise. And he said when he finds that he's holding himself back, that it stems to come from one of three places. And one was his need for approval, or two was his need to control the situation or control another person, or three, his need for perceived safety and security. And so we talked about our need for approval in the last video. And today I want to talk about our need to control. Wow, so need to control what? It typically means we're trying to control another person, we're trying to control a situation, or we're trying to control someone's perception of us. All of which we all know, nobody has control over anything outside of ourselves. We know that. But to really unpack that a little bit more, what we're trying to control are outcomes. We know we have control over ourselves. We know that we can be as prepared as we can be to put our best foot forward. But at that point, we have no control over the outcome, none whatsoever. And yet most of us do try to keep controlling the outcome of whatever it is, whatever steps we have taken. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Obviously, extremely controlling behavior is abusive, but if we dial it back, so much of our controlling behavior is much more subtle. So I invite you to start thinking about how many times are you going throughout the day desperately trying to control an outcome, desperately trying to control someone else's perception of you or a situation or another person, because that does come from a deep insecurity. And the insecurity, once we realize that, that insecurity with our true selves, that's something we can start working on and let the rest go. But that need to control shows up as that inability to let things go. So does this sound familiar? You just can't let things go, or you can't let things be, or your mind will get in a loop over and over and over again about, I should have said this, I should have said that. Maybe things would have been differently if I had just done X, Y, or Z. And that's that need to control the outcome. And I can tell you, and I know anybody in a professional setting, you've had a business meeting, you've been in trial, you've done something and things did not go your way or they didn't go smoothly, and you're just racking your brain over and over after, like you really can't let things go. But you also can't sit with the truth that I had no control over that outcome. I did do my best. That's the only thing I had control over, and that's gone. So it sounds overly simplified to say, hey, how about just getting really comfortable with our true selves, controlling what we can control, show up the best you can, and let the universe take care of the rest. If you don't like the outcomes that the universe is giving you, you can course correct. Yeah, that sounds overly simplified, doesn't it? And I know it's not that easy. It is possible. It's totally possible. It is really possible to work to get to your truest self, which is probably going to change as you get older and you grow. But it is possible to get comfortable with that, show up, put the best you out there that you can possibly do on any given day, and let the universe take care of the rest. And when you do that, that's when you create room for magic. But when we are operating in an everyday atmosphere of trying to control everything around us, trying to control the driver who's stopped at the green light and won't go, when we're trying to control what someone thinks about us, when we are trying to control all that stuff, we have left no room whatsoever for magic to come in. We have taken up all the space because we're controlling everything. It's like throwing this elaborate dinner party and not letting any of your guests bring anything. Like you're not really creating room for any of them to bring their own magic. That was a bad example. But we're creating, when we're controlling everything, we're not creating room for the unexpected. And a lot of times the unexpected is way better than anything we ever could have imagined. So that too is also when we're holding ourselves back. We're holding ourselves back from living our truest life and living our truest, most joyful, abundant purpose. And the main thing I hear when I start talking with people about what they feel is holding them back, and they say, I'd really like to do this, but I can't. Such and such will think I'm crazy, or such and such will think this, or that person is going to think that. Wow, if you find yourself telling yourself that, ask yourself, first of all, who cares? And second of all, why am I trying to control that person's perception of me? Why am I, that's my phone. Why am I trying to control that person? Why, obviously we care and we do want approval, but we don't have any control over whether that person thinks we're crazy or not crazy. It's up to them to do that. So that's our need to control a situation coming out. We're acting on that need to control, and then we're holding ourselves back, and then we're absolutely cutting ourselves off from allowing any magic to come through. So if any of this sounds familiar, when you all are finding yourself like over planning and not allowing any room for spontaneity, for thoughts to loop round and around your head, and you just can't let things go, then ask yourself, is this that need to control coming in? And wouldn't I rather leave room for magic? You don't have to get to the magic by yourself, as you know, always. I've created Unbound, and you know my logo, my motto is life is too short to live anybody else's dream but your own. So when you are ready to allow some magic into your life, contact me. I'm Andrea St. Amand, and here's to everyone having some magic today. Bye-bye.